Hey y'all, Nolo here. The latest update to No Man's Sky Worlds Part 1 is finally here. I know I'm a little late to the party, I've been a little busy with work, but it's a game changer, y'all. And I've said that a few times, but this time I actually mean it. This update is kind of like the Origins update, but even more massive. This is more than I could have ever expected so long after this game launched. Labeled as Part 1, what more could Hello Games be cooking up? Variety. It's the one thing that we've needed for so long. Not just technical variety like you say, oh, this pixel is slightly greener than that one, or that planet is purple but this one's orange. There's more meaningful variety and combinations of wind patterns, ocean shaders, multicolored atmospherics. In my iceberg video, I said how much I've wanted this exploration update. And ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Previous updates addressed freighters, sentinel combat, space stations. They got them from the launch level to what we have now, which is like modern day No Man's Sky. And we're finally getting that for planets as well. Now let's break it down into the major overhauls. Firstly, we got a major overhaul of planetary biomes. New plants and animals give life to these biomes. For example, the fire biome that previously felt undercooked, but now is a lot better, pun intended. Me personally, I used to skip when I would see planets that are hot, radioactive, toxic, and frozen because they all just felt so similar and had unappealing flora. And a lot of frozen planets had the exact same color palette. We eventually did have an overhaul to these in the Origins update, but some of them remained somewhat bland, especially the toxic and superheated planets. The Worlds update adds even more variety to these often overlooked planets. I found myself visiting them way more and finding way more worthwhile worlds to discover. Lush planets especially got crazy rare variants. You can now find lush worlds with floating islands like Pandora. You can also find garden planets with brand new flowering plants like orchids. Another thing this update adds is so many new colors, some of which have big Pathfinder era vibes. I've said time and time again how much I love that era's aesthetic in No Man's Sky, so this made me really happy. Not only do the plants and terrain have these new colors, but also the atmospheres. Multicolored skies have always been a thing in No Man's Sky, but Worlds makes them common enough actually to be found by players that have busy lives, you know? You have a full-time job, you don't have 1,000 hours to sink into just finding one planet with a multicolored sky. These new atmospherics are deeper, richer, and more varied. Along with this atmospheric color change comes darker and more varied nights. We used to have nights be just a generic blue. It doesn't matter what color the planet's sky was or what color the nebula at night was. It would always just be this generic blue tint on everything. Friend of the channel Kanaju mentioned this in his wishlist video.
While No Man's Sky is full of colorful planets, there are certain parts of the game that still have really limited palettes. For example, every planet has a blue tint at night, regardless of what color the sky above is. I'd love to see some planets implement some different nighttime hues related to the nebulas above. Some might look garish though, so you probably need to be subtle about how it's implemented. Right now though, every planet looks very similar at night. Imagine if some were slightly brighter or darker than others at night. That could be interesting for exploration.
The generic blue skies become so samey after a while, and he was right. Hello Games addressed this by adding new night colors, which reflect the system's nebula, just like he asked for. Matter of fact, Kanaju got a few things pretty spot on in his wish list. Off the top of my head, there's the night color variety that we talked about, varying night darkness levels, which we also have here in Worlds. Ocean color variety is another thing he predicted or wished for. Atmospheric variety, sunset variation, we got that in No Man's Sky Worlds. Most sunsets were yellow and orange, and now we have so many different combinations of atmospheric and color, which is just, you know, you're on an alien world. It doesn't have to be exactly like Earth. Atmosphere and everything to be identical on every world we go to, you know? So this adds a lot of variation. Kanaju also wished for weather effects. Somewhat. We got new wind and particle system, which I'm going to delve to in a bit. And he also wished for tsunamis. We didn't get destructive waves, but the ocean waves now vary in times of wind and storm. And Kanaju also wished for / predicted unique enemy creatures, which we got in these new swarm of bugs, which I'm going to mention later. I mentioned earlier that lush worlds now have a chance of being floral garden biomes, and even rarer are the floating islands. These floating islands have vines between them, literally think Avatar, and waterfalls. It makes sense that they implemented this sort of thing in these isolated chunks of terrain To keep it short, the way the game generates the worlds procedurally, waterfalls on land are kind of like a technical miracle to pull off. So it's a lot simpler to do on these floating islands. Hello Games has surprised us before. I'm sure if they ever put their mind to it, they could figure out a way to do actual waterfalls. But for now, they're just high up on these floating islands, and the water just turns to mist before hitting the ground from how high up it is. Another feature is a new and improved mist, pollen, snowfall, billows of smoke, ashes and fungus spores. All different planet biomes have different particle effects, and these not only add more ambience to these refreshed worlds, they're not just randomly floating anymore, they're carried around by the new wind system. We've had wind and tornadoes for a while in this game, but we never had this unified system that kind of flows across and over mountains and hills, and not only affects the dust off the ground, but also shakes the bushes and trees. This may seem like a simple thing that's in a lot of games, but for the longest time in No Man's Sky, the trees would just be completely stiff, even during a hurricane, and that always just took me straight out of the game. Trees and shrubs now feel less like statues of plants and more like actual plants by actually swaying and moving around when the wind is hitting them, you know? It's just a small detail that adds so much to immersion. This new wind system also integrates into another brand new thing we have in No Man's Sky Worlds, a new ocean renderer. I don't know how I could have gone this long without mentioning the water. The water, guys, is freaking beautiful. Not only the surface waves that vary between planets and weather conditions, but the actual rendering of the reflections. You know, you can see the sky colors, you can see the terrain on it, you could see the actual ocean color beneath it, and you could also see that there's differences between shallow and deeper waters. There's different levels of clarity. There's some oceans that are very murky and other oceans are like crystal clear. These oceans also boast this brand new palette of colors that I mentioned earlier. I found liquid red oceans that were so clear that when you would fly above on shallow water, you could just literally see the bottom. You could see the sand. I found planets with giant waves, and I found others with mirror smooth lakes. And the crazy part is that a planet can vary between those extremes depending on the weather. No doubt this adds so much variety when you're exploring and looking for vistas in this beautiful universe. It's clear to me that they worked on this system for a good while, and they made so many different properties like water clarity, depth, color, caustics, all allowing for crazy variety from one ocean to another. You might ask, why the big deal over water? It looks nice, but why the big deal? It's because No Man's Sky's water has been ass for so long, especially at night. It would look so bad. The foam would just look bright white in a dark night, and the render was just so fucking terrible. This water is perfect in comparison. At night, it reflects the new sky colors so beautifully, and physically based rendering so much better than what we used to have. If I had to pick a favorite between all these features, this would definitely be a contender for the first. Improved rendering also addressed clouds. They completely rewrote the code. They didn't have to do that. They were beautiful as is, but now they look photorealistic. More variety of coverage and types of clouds. The patch notes mentions that there's cirrus clouds and dark storm clouds, varying depending on the weather conditions of the planet and from planet to planet. The cloud nerds among you must be drooling right now. Hell, I love this change too. The clouds just look spectacular, especially with these brand new atmospherics. I won't forget to mention that we have new creatures as well, some very interesting and unexpected. I never knew I needed Groot dogs in this game, but they're incredible and they're varied and procedural. I love it when Hello Games lean into these more alien concepts and creatures. Dog, like they fucking said that some planets, buildings evolved legs and became alive. Does that mean that these buildings were already self-constructing? Were they designed by themselves? Were they powered by AI? Like, this just makes me have so many questions, and the main one is, why? I love this crazy shit, man. This universe is so huge, and it's good to have these rare finds to make exploration an actual pillar of the game for once. Sorry to keep ranting about exploration, but let a man have his moment, man. This update is an exploration update through and through, and the early game versions leaned way more into exploration, and a lot of players have felt that we've strayed so far away from that with base building and with vehicles and all these new features tacked on, and that core gameplay has been neglected. It's about damn time the explorers got some love, man. I'm still basking in the glory of this moment. Among these huge exploration changes, it's easy to miss out some great quality of life stuff they did too. We could start building solar ships now, not only the 3 main ship types anymore. These were sorely missing because I could never find a perfect solar ship after so many hours. The sails would always be an ugly color or mismatching. Now I could build my own one. Have you ever tried doing underwater missions and had to swim for miles? It's just tedious the way the jetpacks move underwater. Fear not, the new aqua jets that you could put in your ship can land it anywhere on these oceans. Who knows, this might actually make people start to settle on these ocean worlds for a change. Parking has always been an issue with these planets. If there's an ocean planet, you had to find some random speck of island or something to land on, but now you can land on the water, so no biggie, you know? Lifting this limit is just so refreshing gameplay wise. Base builders will definitely appreciate the new skylight base parts as well. Even more opportunity to marvel at these newer, richer skies. Also for base builders, bases at the waterline will look even more stunning with the waves crashing on the surface of the glass. This is something that's not mentioned in the patch notes, I don't think, but killer plants have their hitboxes fixed. It used to be that you would walk by a killer plant, but you were a mile away and you would look in the direction and it would just damage you. What the hell, man? The plant's over there, how is it hurting me? So they definitely addressed that mismatch in hitbox. And some people have also reported seeing giant versions of these plants, so keep an eye out for that. This is a big thing that I didn't see mentioned until I experienced it and then I found it within the patch notes. Flying into space stations and freighters no longer feels like shit. You fly quickly and cleanly into them. It used to be like you would hit a force field when you got close and it would slow you down. It just feels so much better, and that's such a good fix. This is cute and mainly fluff, but we have 4 more emotes. Love to see it.
You're a jerk, I know. You're a jerk, I know. You're a jerk.
You're gonna do superhero landing. Wait for it. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Upload discoveries can now be renamed. Did you make a typo? Or did your perfect home turn piss yellow like Naboo? Yeah, also, by the way, Brolodice, Naboo, and Sokolo, our capital planets, are fucked, but bear with me, I'm going to explain a little more later. Worry not. Just change that name to something more applicable. Among the new creatures added were these giant procedural bugs. I mentioned that Kanaju wanted new aggressive creatures, and this is what we got. Not all of them are aggressive, but they're crazy looking. Some of them have hive swarms with the mother bug and the babies coming to attack you. It looks like someone at Hello Games has been playing some Helldivers, because we got missions to eliminate these bugs. We even have a whole expedition out to liberate our worlds from this infestation. Rewards for said expedition include sick looking variation of our mech called the Liquidator that has, get this, flamethrower. And there's also a new armor set made from the carcasses of those gnarly bugs. It looks nasty, but I'm sure someone could rock this. Which brings me to something else I love in this update. Large battles against these hive queens or the max level sentinel walkers has a big health bar HUD. This helps make these battles so much more impactful. The walkers didn't really feel like a traditional boss battle. You know, they had their little health bars, but it didn't feel impactful like this does. It's crazy how much a simple fix like this can make the game feel like so much more. The game improved greatly on shadow detail, under the hood engine work, and DLSS 3 support. I can say that I really feel the optimization. I'm on a mid-level PC with the Nvidia card, and I feel that the game runs very well. I'm getting smooth frames for the most part. And I even feel that the speed we have when we're low orbiting and approaching planets, the terrain just generates so much more buttery smooth. If I had to guess, that's what they meant in the patch notes when they said about dual marching cube voxel meshing. If I had to guess, that's probably what that might have been implemented for. They also mentioned offloading distant objects like trees and such to the GPU instead of the CPU. It's actually leveraging what the GPU is good at, a bunch of tiny triangles that have to be drawn. Just send it to the GPU. This leads to way more detail at a distance while being even better performance wise. No Man's Sky Worlds has blown my socks off so far. This update is incredible and has brought hundreds of thousands of new and old players back to this incredible universe. Hello Games, hats off to you. I couldn't have asked for a better, more massive update, almost 9 years after this game released. All free, never a single paid DLC or microtransaction. I know they messed up at launch. The game was nice for some people, but it was marketed as a mass appeal thing, and it just didn't have the polish to get there. Right now, I could definitely say that this game is way more now than ever was promised. And here's the kicker. This update is only part 1 of Worlds. That's right, this is only one half of a bigger picture. Or 1/3, who knows if there's 3 parts to this. There's even more amazing content and features on the horizon. We've only scratched the surface of what Hello Game has in store for us. Their journey continues, and I can't wait to see what's next. There is one small thing. The Brolo Republic's capital planets have been utterly nerfed to oblivion. The original Brolodice has these giant bugs. I know they're peaceful, but they look hideous. Naboo went from looking beautiful to looking fucking nuked. And Sokolo's water looks like, to quote my mod, Grimace Shake, but I think it looks more like cherry soda or something. But we need a new capital for our republic. We need your help to find a new home. If you want to help out, make sure to join the Discord link below. On the screen is also a guide video on the main method we're using to search for this planet. Until next time, traveler, this has been Nolo. Peace be with you.